Mine was really, I mean, there's a lot of personal stuff involved in mine, so I'll keep some of that out, but I guess I'll tell this because it's really important to my life. I was actually in Texas, and I had my girlfriend was on the show later, but my girlfriend at the time, her mother was really sick, and I drove back from Texas in basically one night to come visit her mother, and it's really important to me, I guess. So I'll tell the whole story, but I drove back to visit her mother, and when I got back, I'd been gone for about a month, and I lived in Wilmington and booked a lot of stuff when I was here. I was on Dawson's Creek and did a bunch of commercials and stuff, and they asked if I could come in on audition, and I said, yeah, I'll come in, and that was on a Friday. So I came in and read, and I knew on Saturday they were having like an open basketball tryout. I played in high school and played basketball, so I was like, I'll go to that. And they're like, you don't really have to, and you can come, but it's just for extras. I was like, I'll come. And so I went to basketball just to show them I could play, and actually did really, really well at that. And they said, well, if you could stay till Monday, we'd love to have you here. And I'm like, okay, I'll stay. And I kept telling my girlfriend I'd come up and see her, and I stayed till Monday, and they had me and another guy actually on the lot. They had a picture up for a different guy under Tim when I showed up on the lot, and there was another guy that they were considering, and Schwan came up to me and he's like, you really want this, right? And I was like, yeah. And he goes, it's your part. And I was like really like overwhelmed, like this is a big deal, and legitimately like less than a minute later, I got a phone call from my girlfriend and her mother passed away. So I didn't get to be there, but it was her bringing me back to the state that actually brought me to this, and I would have completely missed this and really spurred on the rest of my life because it carried me to everything I've done since, and obviously made me a part of the show. So it's a really kind of bigger story that some reason that all came together to bring me back. So that's my story. Sorry to bring the mood down, but I owe a lot to that. Yeah. Anyway, somebody tell a funny story.
From what I remember with my audition process, I don't remember if I actually read for it or not, but what I do remember is going into a big conference room with a big table, a bunch of producers and writers, and Mark Schwan was at the other end of the table, and I was at this end, and he was just asking me questions. I was 5, not even 6 yet. And he asked me if I liked pie. I said no. I hadn't really had pie before that. And they said, well, do you like cake? I said, yeah, I love cake. And he said, do you like vanilla? I said, nah, I'm more of a chocolate kind of guy. And that's basically it, I guess. That's from what I remember, that was it, so, yeah.
You're a chocolate kind of guy. What can I decide? You know what I'm saying?
Let's see. Well, I was 13, and everyone else on the show was about 10 years older than me. So I remember for my callback in Wilmington, put heaps of makeup on. I stuffed my bra. I was doing everything I could. I was like, okay, good, ready to go. And when I went in, they had added a new scene. And so I was really nervous. I was looking over, and they were like, don't worry, it's one line. And so when I went in, the director was there, the casting director, and it was on tape from Mark, and the line was what actually ended up being in my first episode, which was, it actually kind of turns me on. So I winged it and got the role. I guess something worked.
My audition process was different. I already knew Mark and Brian and Mike. You know, I worked with those guys before on a couple other projects. So when I came in, I didn't know, it didn't say the producer's name, who I was going. So I guess they didn't want me to know who it was I was coming to read for. So I'm out there and I'm like looking at the stuff, because they know me. So I was like, yeah, I'm gonna change that. I'm gonna change, damn, I'm not saying that. That's not gonna happen. Yep, okay. So I was prepared, didn't know. So the cast director came out and got me and was like, they're ready for you. I walk in the room and I see these dudes and I'm like, hey, what the hell are y'all doing here? I just thought maybe they was at an office down the hall or something. So I went in and we were just talking, and Schwan was like, yeah, we're going to North Carolina next week. The show got picked up. I was like, what show? Like, what are you talking about? So we did, and then we started talking about basketball, and they was like, all right, well, cool. Well, we'll see you next week. I still didn't know what the hell he was talking about. I was just like, okay, I was here to audition for some show called something about a raven or something like that. So he was like, oh no, this is the show. I was like, oh, cool, all right. And I left, that was it. Skills.
Yeah, just really quickly, I was in school at Wake Forest, and I got the notification for the audition, and everybody else was going on spring break, and I either could go on spring break or go to the audition. So I wasn't even sure if I was going to do it, because I wasn't sure I was going to keep acting, but luckily I did do the audition, and I was practicing the scene a whole bunch. It was one of Mouth's announcing scenes, so my dorm mates could like hear me practicing it in the hallway, and I was like, and he scored, Lucas Scott, you know, like doing all that, and they're like, what is this guy doing? He's crazy. He's like talking to himself about fake basketball players, but so anyway, I went in and read for Mark, and then they actually had me go in and read too with Colin Fickus, who played Jimmy Edwards. So we actually read together a second time to see if, you know, how we did as a pair, because they started off, you know, together before that relationship took a turn. Had no idea what was coming down the line, but anyway, so it went well, and felt good about it, and Mark said kind of the same to me, like you got the part, so that was cool, but had no idea it was gonna go where it did, so you never know.
And they're not here anymore, and I know Lee would say the same thing, and I know you'd say the same thing, but just shout out to the Fin Cannons, because they were always like, without them, they were the local casting agents here, and they would always fight for the shows to cast local actors here, and there's a lot of us that really have careers because of them, so shout out to them for fighting for us, to giving us a chance.